Yeah, I remember the first time I built a school in 2017 with my parents, and actually my dad was there. It was pretty incredible. And my ex-husband, and getting to build a school for the first time was life-changing. Getting to come into this village in remote northwestern Nepal with my mom, my dad, my ex-husband, and 300 villagers clapping, singing, playing drums, draping us in marigold flowers, and doing a special celebratory ceremony to welcome us into the village as the villagers got ready to sign their names or put their thumbprint that they would agree to send their children to the school.
I can imagine that it must have been a powerful moment, and obviously something that has stayed with you. Why was it Nepal?
Well, that's a funny story, actually. I had originally wanted to build in Senegal. One of my dear friends, Jeanne, who I've known for well over 20 years, met a boy, fell in love, and moved to Senegal about 10, 15 years ago, and had a beautiful daughter named Journey, her first. And so my dream was to build a school in Senegal. Now, I love serendipities and the way that the universe, we make plans, right? And then there's that old adage, you make plans and God laughs. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, sure, you're going to build in No. So I remember it was July of 2017. And I was at a fireside chat with the CEO of the company we were going to build with, named Jim from Build On. And we're sitting around talking, and I'm booked to build in Senegal Thanksgiving week with my family. And my ex-husband and I were trying to get pregnant, because what do you do when you're in a crappy marriage? You try to get pregnant. It's a really good idea, right? I'm sure I highly recommend it. Don't do it. Really don't. And so, but it was funny because of that, so many miracles happened. So I mentioned to Jim at this fireside chat, I said, Jim, don't worry. Even if I'm pregnant, I'll still go on trek to Senegal. And Jim looks at me and he says, you're not going to Senegal? I said, well, yes, I am. We're booked Thanksgiving week. He said, no, we legally cannot allow you to go to Senegal because there's Zika there. And if you're even trying to get pregnant, it's illegal for us to send you there. I was like, what do you mean? I was good at my friend Jeanne and all these things, right? And so he said, we're rerouting you immediately to Nepal in a different week. But here's the miracle about all this that not a lot of people know. So I was in this unhappy relationship with my ex-husband through much of my own fault too. I take full accountability for the role that I played in the lack of compatibility there. And so we fly and we go and we build the school in Nepal. And in doing so, as I was mentioning, before we started the show, one of my dear friends and business partners, Arthur Samuel Joseph, is a prolific thought leader and coach who trained Tony Robbins and Pierce Brosnan and many others how to speak. Well, he also trained the Ritz-Carlton staff worldwide. So when I told Arthur I was going to Nepal, he insisted, Reggie, he said, you must go to Hong Kong for at least one night on your way to or from Nepal. I was like, oh, okay, I've never been to Hong Kong. So I asked my parents and my ex-husband. They said, sure. So we land in Hong Kong on our way back from building the school, and we're exhausted. We're covered in sweat, dirt. You have no showers, nothing. And we arrive in Hong Kong, and we arrive at the Ritz-Carlton where Arthur had connected me with the general manager there who he knew. And my parents went straight to bed. They were exhausted. And they recognized me the moment I get out of the car. Miss Hill, let us escort you up to your suite. So we go from no running water, no electricity to this panoramic suite overlooking all of Hong Kong. It was the first time I'd ever stayed in a suite that beautiful. So as we get up there, they said, oh, we saved you dinner at our restaurant on the 104th floor, Michelin star rated restaurant, 2 Michelin stars. And my ex-husband and I were like, oh, we don't care. We've barely eaten anything for a week. We're exhausted. We're like, sure, whatever. We get there, and you cannot make this up, Reggie. I'm sitting at that dinner. I'm sitting over here to the left. My ex-husband is here next to me. My now husband, who I didn't know, is sitting at the table next to us, is the only other table in the whole restaurant with his business partner. He and my ex-husband start talking, and they just talked. I barely even said 2 words to him because I was so exhausted from building the school. And we all traded contact information. And then unrelated, a year later, I got an intuitive message to go to New York the first week of November after I had asked my ex-husband for a divorce. And through a series of serendipities, I accidentally wound up reconnecting with my now husband and falling madly, deeply in love. And that would not have been possible had they not rerouted the school from Senegal to Nepal.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. That's like, I mean, there's so many things that are going on inside of me right now. So that meant you were there really building the school in that sense, if I may say, not only sponsoring it, right? So,
absolutely.
But your hands-on
like
building.
I was working with rebar and cement and also digging.
and you seem to have been very flexible in that sense to just think, okay, then it's not Senegal, let's go to Nepal. Is that character trait you have? Or
it is now because I meditate so much. Like a great example of this, I was in Mallorca a couple weeks ago supporting Deepak Chopra with his first inaugural Sages and Scientists event there. And I had booked a few of the speakers there for them. And the second day of the retreat, I was supposed to be there 3 nights. I was in meditation with Deepak that morning. He was facilitating a group meditation. And all of a sudden, a message came through that said, you need to leave tomorrow. It was the day before I was supposed to leave. And I was like, okay. Now, this happens to me often where in meditation, I'll be told that I need to go left instead of right. And so 3 times total, I meditated on it. And every time I heard I needed to go. And so I wound up flying back a day early. I even told Deepak, I said, Deepak, I'm sorry, but I'm hearing I have to go. And of course, he more than most people respected that.
And so you've had that for years now, in that sense, that gift.
Yeah, I've been meditating regularly for 12 years. And as I've been building upon that practice, I actually teach people a meditation practice for anybody who it's your first time really connecting to intuition. One of my favorite techniques I teach people, Reggie, is to write down every morning 5 to 10 questions that you will be able to verify throughout the day, the validity of whether or not you're correct. So for example, in my case this morning, I asked questions such as, is it in my highest and best good to go record with Reggie this morning? Yes. Will I record? Yes. I will ask this about planes, about whether or not my plane will be on time or delayed. It's this specific. I asked, is the party going to happen tonight? Yes. How many people will be at the party? I heard 79. How many people will cancel? I heard 3 people will cancel last minute. So then I cross-check that with the validity at the end of the day. How accurate was I? Like 2 days ago, I just flew back from Paris. And literally that morning, I heard your flight will be 30 minutes delayed. And no kidding, I show my husband on my phone where I wrote down the answer. We took off 30 minutes late exactly.
That's so interesting. And I love that this kind of evidence building, right? So to gain the trust also in that
of your intuition. Because I meet so many people who ask me, how did you cultivate such deep, meaningful intuition? So the trick is every morning after you either do breath work or meditation or anything that quiets the mind and the noise of the ego, it's right after that I verbally will talk out loud. Now, some people, Reggie, will feel it in their bodies. Like my husband is more clairsentient, like he's more of a feeling versus I'm more clairvoyant and clairaudient where I hear things more clearly or I'll be shown an image. So however it shows up for you, your intuition may feel like a tingly sense in your gut that's like a yes or a no, or you might hear something like, for me, I hear yeses and nos. And the point is to refine it, to really harness and hone that gift that we've all been given of our inner knowing and our higher self.